never thought I'd burn a man's life to the ground with a single email. But that's exactly what I did at 3:17 a.m., my fingers trembling over the send button as the skyline of Chicago mocked me from my laptop screen. The child, 8 years old, wide-eyed in that grainy photo I'd leaked, was the spark. But the inferno was all mine, fueled by a betrayal that had festered for 7 years like untreated gangrene. And as the message winged its way to every major news outlet in the Midwest, I whispered to the empty apartment, "This is for you, Tommy," knowing full well that by dawn, the man who'd raised me like a daughter would be the monster everyone saw him for. It started in the bullpen of the Chicago Tribune, back when I was 25 and hungry enough to bite the hand that fed me, except I didn't.
Not then.
My name's Kenzie Harlan, investigative reporter. The kind who chases shadows in City Hall and comes back with blood on her heels. That Tuesday in June, the newsroom hummed like a hive on Red Bull, fluorescent lights buzzing, keyboards clacking, the eternal scent of burnt coffee and desperation. I'd been chasing a lead on a foster care scandal for months. Kids shuffled like poker chips between underfunded homes, some landing in the laps of predators who donated to the right campaigns. Tommy Voss, my editor and mentor, had handed me the tip himself. "Kenzie,
Kiddo,
this one's gold." A little boy in Englewood, Tommy Jr., no relation, thank Christ, claims his foster dad, some mid-level bureaucrat named Harlan Graves, roughed him up. Get the interview. Make it sing. Tommy Voss wasn't just my boss, he was the uncle I never had, the guy who'd pulled me from the rubble of my parents' divorce when I was a teen scraping by in Southside tenements. He taught me how to spot a lie in a politician's smile, how to twist a source until the truth bled out. Journalism's war. "Kenzie," he'd say over late-night whiskeys at the Billy Goat. "And we're the goddamn infantry."
So I dove in.
Drove my beat-up Civic to that crumbling brownstone off Halstead, where Tommy Jr. huddled on the stoop, skinny legs dangling like broken twigs, his eyes darting like he expected the world to crack open and swallow him. He was 8. Yeah, but carried himself like 40, bruises blooming purple on his arms, a split lip he'd tried to hide with a too-big hoodie. "Miss Kenzie," he whispered when I sat beside him, my notebook trembling in my lap. "He says it's for my own good. But it hurts. And Mama's gone." Harlan Graves, the foster father, was a suit in the Department of Children and Family Services, the very agency supposed to protect kids like this one. I'd smelled the rot. Graves had a history of disciplinary actions buried under NDAs. And whispers from other caseworkers pointed to bigger fish, donors greasing palms to keep the system blind. Tommy Jr. spilled it all in fits and starts, the belts, the locked closets. The nights Graves came home reeking of bourbon and lessons. By the time I left, tape recorder heavy in my pocket, I was hooked. This wasn't a story, it was a crusade. Back at the Trib, I burst into Tommy's glass-walled office. The city sprawled gray below us. "This is it,
Tommy.
Graves is the tip of the iceberg. I've got the kid's testimony, it's airtight." He leaned back in his creaky leather chair, silver hair catching the light like a halo, those sharp blue eyes crinkling with that paternal pride that always made my chest ache. "Atta girl. Run it wide open." Front page. Above the fold. We worked through the night, me pounding out the prose while he fact-checked, his red pen slashing like a surgeon's scalpel.
"Mocking few each.
Kenzie. Make em hate themselves for not seeing it sooner." By dawn, the piece was locked, forgotten in the system. One boy's nightmare in Chicago's foster hell. It hit the stands that afternoon. And the fallout was biblical, Protests at City Hall. The mayor's office scrambling. Graves suspended pending investigation. But here's the hook that snagged me deepest. Tommy Jr. called me the next day. Voice small over the burner phone I'd given him. "You did good, Miss Kenzie. He can't hurt me now." I believed it. God, did I believe it? Little did I know, the real monster was grinning from the desk across the hall. The backlash hit like a freight train. By evening, my inbox was a war zone. Threats from Graves' lawyer. Emails from concerned citizens calling me a homewrecker. A liar peddling sob stories for clicks. Tommy pulled me aside in the break room, his hand heavy on my shoulder. "They're coming for you,
Kid.
but we've got your back. Board meeting tomorrow. We'll circle the wagons." I nodded, numb, chugging vending machine coffee that tasted like regret. That night, alone in my Wicker Park walk-up, I scrolled through the comments. Fake news witch hunt. That kid's probably lying for attention. Sleep came in fits. Haunted by Tommy Jr.'s eyes. Morning brought the axe. I arrived at the Trib to find my desk cleared, personal photos in a box. My byline scrubbed from the online edition. HR waited in the conference room, flanked by Tommy, his face a mask of sorrow. Fabrication concerns. Kenzie, the suits droned. The boys recanting. Graves has an alibi. We're retracting. Recanting? My blood turned to ice. Tommy wouldn't meet my eyes. "It's for the greater good," he muttered as they escorted me out. My badge yanked like a traitor's dog tag. By noon, the headlines flipped. Tribune retracts explosive foster abuse story amid new evidence. My career? Vaporized. Blackballed from every newsroom in the city. Friends ghosted. Sources dried up. I crashed on couches, temping as a barista, the American dream's middle finger saluting me from the espresso foam. 7 months I clawed through the dark, piecing it together like a junkie chasing a fix. FOIA requests, late-night stakeouts, hacking public records with skills Tommy himself had taught me. The truth slithered out slow. Graves wasn't the lone wolf. The retractions? Orchestrated by Tommy Voss, who'd buried his own skeletons deeper than a mob hit. Turns out, 20 years back, Tommy had been a rising star at the Sun-Times, sniffing too close to a pedophile ring tied to city aldermen. He'd covered for a source, a low-level fixer named Harlan Graves, fresh out of juvie himself, who fed him tips in exchange for silence on the rougher foster placements. One night, sloppy drunk, Tommy let a kid slip through, a girl, 6 years old, beaten so bad she ended up in Cook County General with internal bleeding. Tommy took the heat. Anonymous leak pinned it on him. Cost him his job, his marriage. But Graves walked free, climbed the DCFS ladder on Tommy's dime, repaying the favor with kickbacks funneled through shell charities. And me? I'd been the patsy from day one. Tommy fed me the Tommy Jr. tip knowing it'd blow back. Graves, cornered, called in his marker. Tommy spiked the story, twisted the kid's words with planted doubts, all to protect his golden goose. The greater good? His pension? His lake house in Michigan? The illusion of the untouchable editor. I defended that child, bled for him on paper, only to shoulder Tommy's ancient sin. The betrayal wasn't just professional, it was paternal filicide. He'd raised me to be his shield, then sacrificed me on the altar of his regrets. Rage bloomed slow, a black rose in my gut. I could have gone legal, sue for defamation, drag it through the courts, but that'd be clean. American justice porn.
No.
Revenge. Real and raw. Demanded dirtier hands. I started small. Anonymous tips to rival rags about Tommy's ethical lapses. Whispers of his boozy nights with sources. Nothing stuck. The old bastard was Teflon. So I went deeper, cultivating a network of jilted exes, his second wife, who'd OD'd on Xanax after he left her for an intern half her age, a string of reporters he'd blackballed like me. We met in dive bars off Division, trading war stories over PBRs, the air thick with cigarette ghosts and grudges. The plan crystallized over a winter that bit like frostbite, exposed not just Tommy, but the whole rotten core. Graves was the key, still climbing, now deputy director. His reforms laundered through Tommy's puff pieces. I'd infiltrate. Use Tommy Jr. as bait. The kid was 13 now. Bounced to a group home in Cicero after the scandal painted him unstable. I visited under a fake name, posing as a social worker volunteer. He remembered me, eyes hardening like flint. You promised, Miss Kenzie. I did. Slipped him a phone. Taught him to record. One more story. Tommy. The real one. Spring thawed the city. And with it, my trap. I fed Tommy a crumb, an exclusive, on a DCFS whistleblower ready to spill on Graves' ongoing abuses. He bit hard, invited me back to the Trib for reconciliation, his office reeking of Old Spice and second chances. Water under the bridge.
Kiddo.
Let's bury the hatchet. I smiled. Saccharine. While my hidden recorder whirred. He monologued for an hour. Regrets. Justifications. The casual admission that, yeah, he'd throw me under to save the kid long term.
Save him?
From what? Tommy's mirror. That tape was dynamite. But I needed the payload. Posing as a stringer for Vice, I shadowed Graves to a fundraiser at the Palmer House, schmoozing donors and tuxes while kids like Tommy Jr. rotted. He was there. Pauncher. Silver fox charming. Arm around a state senator's wife. I cornered him in the coat room, mic pinned to my lapel. Mr. Graves. About that boy in Englewood. His face crumpled like wet paper. The confession poured, the beatings as tough love, the cover-ups Tommy engineered. The trail of broken kids stretching back decades. Voss owed me. We all do what we gotta in this town. By summer, the pieces aligned. Tommy Jr.'s recordings, Graves visiting the group home, checking in with fists and threats, were gold. I compiled it all, dossiers, timelines, the web of complicity tying Tommy to Graves like a noose. The email draft sat in my outbox for weeks. A digital guillotine. Send it. And I'd torch them both. Tommy's legacy. Graves' career. The whole corrupt circus. But doubt not. Was I any better? Weaponizing a kid's trauma for my vendetta? Tommy had warped me. Sure. But this revenge. It blurred the lines. Made me the villain in my own mirror. The decision came on a muggy August night. Heat lightning cracking over Lake Michigan like God's own temper tantrum. I'd holed up in a no-tell motel on the edge of Pilsen. Walls thin as regrets. The AC rattling like loose teeth. Tommy Jr. texted from the burner. He's here. Hurry.
Graves.
Making one of his visits. I raced over in an Uber. Heart hammering. Slipping through the chain-link shadows of the group home's yard. Peered through a grimy window, Graves looming over the kid. Voice low and venomous. Hand raised, not quite to strike, but close. Tommy Jr.'s phone captured it all. The audio a knife twist. You forget. Boy, I own this place. One word from me, and you're back in the hole. I didn't intervene.
Couldn't.
Not without blowing the op. Instead, I drove to the lakefront, parked facing the Blackwater, and hit send. The email blast, the Chicago Shield, how the Tribune's golden boy buried child abuse for decades. Attachments, every damning file. Timestamped.
Sourced.
CC to the Sun-Times.
WBEZ.
The FBI's public corruption tip line. By 4 a.m., my phone lit up, reporters I'd ghosted calling back. Sources crawling out of the woodwork. The story broke at sunrise, sirens wailing downtown as feds raided DCFS offices. Graves in cuffs on live TV. His mugshot a masterpiece of shattered entitlement.
Tommy? He saw it coming.
Called me at dawn. Voice cracking like old vinyl. Kenzie. What the hell? This'll kill me. I let the silence stretch. The city waking to chaos below my window. You killed me first.
Tommy.
7 months ago. When you let them bury me alive. He begged tears. I think. Or maybe just the whiskey. I did it for you.
Kid.
To toughen you up. The world's ugly. I spared you the worst. Spared me? By making me the fall guy for his sins? I hung up. Numb. As the first protesters gathered outside the Trib, chanting Voss, must go. The climax unfolded in fractured glory. A media circus that split the city like a fault line. Pundits on Fox called it a witch hunt. Liberals on MSNBC hailed me as a hero. Protests swelled, moms with megaphones demanding foster reform. Blue-collar guys in MAGA hats decrying fake news revenge. I went underground, crashing with an old source in Logan Square, watching the dominoes fall from a burner laptop. Graves flipped first, singing like Sinatra in a plea deal, Tommy's role in the cover-ups. The payoffs. Even a vague hint at higher-ups in the mayor's circle. The Trib suspended Tommy pending investigation. But he didn't quit, he doubled down. Leaking counter-narratives to friendly bloggers, Kenzie Harlan, disgruntled ex. Out for blood. That's when the flip happened. The one that made my stomach lurch. Tommy went public in a tear-jerking op-ed for the Reader. My protégé's betrayal. The cost of cancel culture in journalism. He painted me as the unstable one, ambitious to a fault, twisting facts for glory, using Tommy Jr. as a prop. I protected her career by taking the heat once. Now she repays me with ruin. The comments exploded, half calling him a saintly martyr, the other half serpents for defending a child beater. I watched from afar, bile rising. He'd flipped the script, made himself the victim, me the vengeful harpy. And worse, it stuck. Polls showed the city Chia Fee, split down the middle. White-collar Chicago siding with Tommy's due process, South and West sides rallying behind the kids I'd avenged. The tension peaked at the Tribune's emergency town hall, broadcast live from the Medill School. I couldn't stay away. Slipped in the back, hoodie up, heart pounding like a war drum. Tommy took the stage. Silver hair impeccable, voice steady as he fielded questions. I admit mistakes, youthful indiscretions buried long ago. But Kenzie? She knew the game. We all cut corners in this racket. The crowd murmured, divided, applause from the alumni suits, boos from the student activists waving signs for Tommy Jr. Then, the mic passed to a random audience member, me, unmasked when I stood, voice slicing the air like a razor. Indiscretions? You let a 6-year-old girl bleed out because it suited your sources. And me? You fed me to the wolves to keep your hands clean. Chaos erupted, cameras flashing, security closing in. Tommy's face draining to ash as recognition hit. He lunged for the mic, but I held it, spilling the final gut punch, the recording of his reconciliation chat, his own words damning him. For the greater good, I mimicked, as the feed cut to static. Outside, the night air crackled with sirens and shouts, the city fracturing further. Was I the avenger or the destroyer? Tommy's pleas echoed in my head. Had he really toughened me? Or just broken me into his image? In the weeks that followed, the fallout calcified into legend. Graves got 20 to life, his empire crumbling under federal scrutiny. The Trib hemorrhaged advertisers, Tommy retiring to that Michigan Lake house under a cloud of lawsuits.
Me?
Offers trickled in, podcasts, books, even a sinecure at ProPublica, but I turned them down. The revenge tasted like ash, sweet at first, then choking. Tommy Jr. thrived, though adopted by a family in Evanston, sending me postcards of baseball games and straight-A report cards. Thanks for the real story, Miss K. That was the win, if any.
But the twist?
The one that keeps me up. Staring at Chicago's restless lights, Tommy didn't fade quietly. From exile, he launched a Substack, Unfiltered Truth, raking in Patreon bucks from the grievance crowd. His magnum opus, a memoir serializing our mentorship, framing me as the prodigal daughter gone rogue, driven mad by feminism and cancel culture. It went viral, blue-check liberals decrying his toxicity, red-pilled bros crowning him a free speech warrior. And buried in Chapter 12, a bombshell, proof I'd embellished Tommy Jr.'s original interview, added dramatic flourishes to hook the editors. Forged notes, timestamps fudged just enough to cast out. Was it true? Hell if I know, panic edits in the dead of night. Maybe. Or Tommy's final flip, planting the forgery to even the score. The debate rages online. Hero or hack? Protector or predator? I scroll through it sometimes, anonymous in dive bar Wi-Fi. The city's pulse mocking my isolation. Revenge didn't heal. It just shifted the blame. Left us all stained. Tommy died last fall, heart attack, they said. But whispers say pills and bourbon. His obituary called him a titan felled by the mob. I didn't go to the funeral. Instead, I visited Tommy Jr.'s new home, watched him pitch in a Little League game under floodlights. As the ball cracked off the bat, sailing into the dusk, I wondered, was this justice? Or just another layer of the con? In America, the lines always blurred. Winners write the rules. Losers sharpen the knives. And me, I'm still swinging in the dark. Looking back, that Little League diamond became my confessional. The crack of ash bats against the July heat, a rhythm that drowned out the echo of Tommy's voice in my skull. The world's ugly. Kenzie. Yeah. It was, but I'd made it uglier. Hadn't I? Or prettier. Depending on whose feed you trusted. The twist Tommy dropped in his memoir didn't just sting, it metastasized. Spawning documentaries, Twitter beefs, even a true crime pod where ex-cops dissected my motive. Harlan's a classic case, one grizzled detective drawled into a mic. Betrayed broad turns scorched earth. But did she cook the books? That's the rub. Listeners picked sides like it was fantasy football. Team Kenzie. The whistleblower warrior, Team Voss. The grizzled vet crucified by ambition's altar girls. I tried to outrun it. Bolting west to Denver for a fresh start, barista gig at a hipster roastery. Alias Kaylee. Nights blurring into craft IPAs and bad decisions with strangers who didn't ask about scars. But America doesn't forget. It remixes. 6 months in, A barfly recognized me from a Vice profile. You're that reporter chick,
Right?
the one who nuked her boss over kid stuff. I laughed it off, but the seed took root. Sleepless. I'd fire up the laptop. Doom scrolling the endless churn. Vossgate trending again. Thanks to some alt-right influencer clipping Tommy's final words audio. A voicemail he'd left me post-leak. You think you won?
Kid?
This town's bigger than both of us. But remember, I made you. Made me. Like Frankenstein's monster. Stitched from his scraps. Now rampaging back. The real gut twist hit in October. Frost nipping the Rockies as I got the package. No return address. Just my dead name scrawled in familiar loops. Inside, a thumb drive and a yellowed Sun-Times clipping from '98. The girl from Tommy's past staring out. Her face a ghost of Tommy Jr.'s. The drive? Hours of raw footage. Unlabeled. Time-stamped to his office safe. I plugged it in, heart thudding, and there it was, me, 25 again, hunched over my desk the night of the original story. But not alone, Tommy. Hovering, his voice off mic but clear. Embellish it a tad. Kenzie. Make the bruises sing. Graves'll squirm, but it'll force his hand. I'd nodded.
Typed.
The whiskey buzz making it easy. Then, his hand on my shoulder. Good girl. This is how we play. Forgery?
No. Complicity.
I'd known, deep down, that he was steering me toward the cliff. We'd co-authored the sin. Him the architect, me the eager bricklayer. The drive ended with a note in his chicken scratch. Truth's a two-way street.
Kid.
Publish if you dare. Love. T.
Love.
The word landed like a sucker punch. Was this his last flip, absolution, or accusation? I sat there till dawn. The Denver skyline indifferent. Weighing the nuclear option. Leak the footage. Own my dirt. Flip the narrative to mutual madness. But who wins then? The kids still shuffled in shadows. The system's still a meat grinder. Tommy Jr., thriving in his Evanston bubble, didn't need more mud. Instead, I drove east, back to Chicago like a salmon spawning to die. The city welcomed me with open arms and closed doors, old haunts boarded up. The Trib a husk post-scandal. I tracked down the girl from the clipping, now Elena, 40-something therapist in Oak Park, her office smelling of chamomile and quiet fury. Voss, she spat when I showed my face. No intro needed. He visited once, after the story tanked. Apologized, left a check. Said it was for the greater good. We talked for hours. Her story mirroring mine, groomed, used, discarded. You avenged us both. Kenzie. But don't let it define you. Define me? Too late. The climax I'd engineered had faded to embers. But the tension lingered. A low hum under the L tracks. Protesters dwindled. Reform stalled in committee, classic Cheetown limbo. Graves rotted in Statesville. Penning appeals from Gen Pop. Tommy's Substack? A cult hit. His exposé on me serialized into a Netflix pitch. I could have crashed the premiere. Mic in hand.
But nah.
Revenge's high crashes hard. The landings all regret. So I chose the debatable end. A quiet reckoning. Met Tommy's widow at a diner off Michigan Avenue. Rain sheeting the windows like tears. She was brittle. Chain-smoking Virginia Slims. Eyes red-rimmed. He loved you. You know. In his way. I slid the drive across the Formica. Tell his ghost I loved him too. But love's not enough when kids break. She nodded, pocketed it. And that was that. No headlines, no viral clip. The footage vanished into family lore. A private twist for the survivors.
Me?
I stayed. Ghostwriting for a non-profit watchdog. Penning reports on foster gaps that actually changed policy. Small wins. No bylines. Tommy Jr. graduated high school last spring. Valedictorian speech thanking the reporter who listened. I watched from the bleachers. Incognito. Chest tight with something like peace. Or penance. Was it happy? Tragic? Depends on your lens. America loves its gray areas. Heroes with heel turns. Villains with heart. Tommy made me the blade. I honed it sharp. In the end, the real controversy? No one's hands are clean. Not his. Not mine. Not the system's. We all flip. All betray in the chase for good. And as Chicago's lights flicker on, eternal and unforgiving, I raise a glass to the mess, to the children we save, the ones we don't, and the revenge that binds us tighter than blood. Here's to the ugly world and the fools who try to light it anyway.